So Colorado Springs actually almost has 500 bridges. We used to rappel off tall bridges because that was the easiest way to get to the areas you needed to get to. So I was kind of jumping off. I think the top of the bridge was about 300 feet off the water, which what we really need is younger people to keep getting into the engineering field. There's a lack of people going and getting this degree and this experience to do this career right now. And
is the environment, particularly here in Colorado, is it more prone to breaking up and more easy compared to a different place?
Absolutely. One of the worst things that can happen to the road.
Welcome to the Colorado Springs Business Podcast, where we discuss business principles and provide real-life insight into the lives of everyday business owners and entrepreneurs. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe or leave a review wherever you might be listening. Now, let's talk business. Welcome back to the COS Business Podcast. We're sitting here with Alex Pellegrino. Is it spelled like the wine? Pronounced like the wine?
Exactly. The water, the sparkling water.
Oh, that's the water. Yes, the water, not the wine. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, could you tell us a little bit about your business and what you do?
Yeah. So like you said, my name's Alex Pellegrino. I was one of the founding partners and also currently a vice president at Basis Partners. We're a civil engineering company based out of Colorado Springs, founded in 2019, late 2019, October to be specific. Mainly we focus on government projects locally here. We have a Colorado Springs focus.
Nice.
We do a lot of city Colorado Springs and even CDOT work, Colorado Department of Transportation.
Nice.
So yeah, that's kind of the quick rundown.
Yeah. How'd you get started doing that?
So me personally, my dad was an engineer. I guess we kind of always approach things similarly, like problem solving wise. Always saw engineering as just this very stable career path. We're going to need it in the future. Mm-hmm. Good way to support my family while not kind of killing myself, good kind of work-life balance. And then started going to school for mechanical engineering. So I'm obsessed with cars, always loved cars,
Nice.
Right? But very shortly into my engineering career, I realized if I did that, I'd be stuck in front of the computer all day. So that's when I got to know a local engineering firm in a small town in Pennsylvania. And they were telling me about bridge inspection, right? Where I could get out, put my waders on, stomp around in the creek and look at bridges and, kind of marry that up with some office time. And that was a lot more appealing to me and, never look back.
That's awesome. Why would you be in front of a computer all the time?
The design aspect of engineering.
Okay.
If I went down more of like the bridge design path, it would be the same. You're laying out bridges and, specifying bridges at the computer desktop, all day, every day. And that's never been something that was really appealing to me. I love the fresh air. And, we're talking about Colorado. It's one of the reasons I moved here 10 years ago is the opportunity to be in it's, beautiful surroundings every day. And, some days I get paid to walk around Garden of the Gods and look at the bridges here. And those are some of the best days of my career, to be honest.
I'm sure. Yeah. Have you done any bridges in the mountains?
Yeah, we actually did Park County this month.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we were kind of near Fairplay, kind of up and down 285 and kind of down towards kind of Jefferson, that area. A lot of rural bridges, which is kind of your favorite thing when you don't need to worry about traffic whizzing by. But yeah, those are amazing days. We were kind of jostling for space with the trout fly fishermen out in the creek. So it was kind of some fun days.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting job because my job is very similar. It's like I'm editing at the computer a lot, but then we're going out in the field and doing things at like events and filming and stuff. So it's a fun balance of that. But although I do spend a lot, like 80% of my time in front of the computer actually. So
yeah,
I do a lot of 3D design now lately too. So that's been fun, which is probably similar to what you would have been doing if you're designing. Well, I don't know what software or what software would you use?
Oh, there's all sorts of specialized software for design, roadway design. You're using MicroStation is the one our company prefers. Nice. There's also AutoCAD, things like that. But yeah, unfortunately I'm kind of like you, the longer I get into my career, the more office time I get, so I cherish those days out in the field.
For sure. You got any questions? I'll let you take it from here.
We've done a lot of research, but before I get into it, I had a question that kind of spurred up. And I think this history's right. You got to correct me if I'm wrong, but Andrew Carnegie, Andrew Carnegie, he worked with steel.
Of course.
He did bridges as well, right?
Yep.
And is he from that same general area? I don't know. I think he might have not been from the same general area, but that's someone who comes to mind when I talk about like bridges and like the sophistication of that in early years. Especially, I consider him one of the founding entrepreneurs of America.
Absolutely. Yeah. He was huge, right? Yeah. Especially, we talk about my background in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Especially on the western part of the state. There's even Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh.
I thought so.
He was instrumental in a lot of that, building infrastructure, around the country. And he is an interesting person and inspirational. And, all those big bridges, big, beautiful bridges, you think about in Pittsburgh area, he definitely played a role out there. So
that's so insane. I've tried to remember one story. I think there was something about like they were trying to test like the stability of a bridge, and they made like an elephant cross. Are you familiar with that story?
I'm not familiar.
Yeah, but it was like one of those things that like Carnegie Steel or Carnegie Steel or whatever. How you pronounce it's Carnegie, right?
Yeah.
And
I was going to correct you, and I didn't.
Carnegie. Yeah. I love that story, and it feels like relates to you because it sounds like you have a fascination, especially with bridges and everything that you've done. And you're in a mountainous state, so I'm sure you've had some really fun projects in and around Colorado, I'm assuming. Yeah,
absolutely.
Partner interruption, but we wanted to talk to you about one of our really great sponsors, Planet Duct. Andrew, tell them a little bit more about them.
Planet Duct. They have an air duct. They are an air duct cleaning company here in Colorado Springs. They're premier air duct cleaning company, meaning they have the highest quality of equipment that you need and up to all the standards, all the regulations and past that. PlanetDuct.com is their website if you want to check them out if you have any air duct cleaning needs. So our next sponsor is a little festival, a little one, Marcus.
Like a tiny house?
Yes.
Yes. The next sponsor is the People's Tiny House Festival. It's a full-on display of simple living. We have tiny houses there. They got van conversions, school bus conversions, vendors from all across the Front Range, and we have food trucks, fun yard games, and it's a festival going on July 2nd, actually July 1st to 2nd, 2023 at the Ranch Events Complex in Loveland, Colorado. Check it out, peoplestinyhousefestival.com/tickets.
So our next sponsor is a pretty amazing marketing company called Recon Marketing. Tell us a little bit about that, Marcus.
Recon Marketing. I'm the co-owner with Brett Curley. That's a company that got started 3 years ago in the wake of COVID. Professional marketing agency. We do social media management, web design services, SEO, and photography as well, and videography. So full service marketing agency. If you want to know more, visit us at reconmarketingservice.com or hit me up after the episode. Our next sponsor is a really great sponsor. They focus more specifically on inventory and helping you out with theft of your tools. Tell us a little bit more about Power Tool Safe, Andrew.
Power Tool Safe, they help you manage, like you said, they help you manage your tools and make sure that you are prepared when disaster strikes, because it is likely to strike, because tool theft is a major issue. And it happens all the time, especially with contractors. But you can obviously use this for any business if you have a lot of tools. But that's Power Tool Safe. Check them out, powertoolsafe.com. And if you would like to be a sponsor of this show, reach out to cosbusinesspodcast@gmail.com, and we can figure out what that would look like. We can create customized sponsorships. We have a foundational sponsorship package where we shout you out just like we did on every episode.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great sponsorship. And we also like to have you on the show, too. If you're a sponsor, you kind of get to skip the line. Next day, new episodes, you have new updates with your company, maybe some events that you're doing or whatever. So look us up. We'll be happy to talk to you about sponsorship. We're excited to meet you. So I run Recon Marketing, but one of my favorite aspects of marketing is video. And there's no better company that I can think about as far as creating everything from like inception all the way through the process of a storyboard of a brand than Vehement Visuals. Tell us a little bit about your company, Vehement Visuals, Andrew.
Yeah, Vehement Visuals, video production company here in Colorado Springs. Although we will travel wherever we need to go for video production. We mostly focus on doing marketing, branding videos for businesses to help them grow. That could incorporate video is basically anything visual. So whether it's graphic design, video production, 3D animation, graphics all around on top of videos, but the core focus on marketing videos, branding videos for companies. VEHEMENT for the audio listeners.
Well, we'll get back to the show right now.
And like I said, kind of our founding thing with Basis, like our company, it was we all live here, mainly in the Colorado Springs, some kind of surrounding areas, and we're really just so focused on our own community, right? And that's kind of one of the differentiators for us, and we're just obsessed with doing projects that are not only going to improve our life, but maybe our families, our friends, people that we live around and work around. And you're talking about working in beautiful Colorado. Colorado Springs, it's got it all, and we've been lucky enough to do some projects around the state too, and get to see more of the state through our projects. It's awesome.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you've had some experience before you started Basis Partners, especially in engineering. What was the precipice of starting this business for you?
Yeah. So I'm going to take it way back, right? So I grew up, my mom owned her own business her whole life. She's a potter, does pottery.
Oh, that's
and,
awesome.
Got to travel around with her, doing her art shows at times, and got to see firsthand, first 18 years of my life, right? Somebody struggling through owning a business, right? It's always a struggle owning a business. And she's a really inspirational, positive attitude, and you could see just what she was building and the following she made, in our local community in Pennsylvania, and it was just awesome to watch. And I've always had in the back of my mind, well, what tools would I need or what experiences would I need to feel comfortable owning my own business, and a lot of it kind of played into how I went about my career and education, right? So I grew up in a farming town, the small little town, not a lot going on. And then I went to Penn State University, which was surrounded by farms, small town, but I knew what I was missing was like an urban experience. I wanted to meet different people that I had an interface with, anything like that, and be able to talk and relate to anybody that I come across. So after graduating and working in my small town for just 1 year, I had enough. I needed more. So I moved to Philadelphia, right downtown. Plucked me from a farm to,
Philly,
one of the most urban areas around, right? So had some great experiences in Philly, worked for the largest engineering firm in the world, got to see how a large corporation acts and treats people and does business and all that stuff. And I'm just gathering information this whole time. So I've lived in a small town, worked in a small firm, then lived in a big town, worked at a big firm, and kind of got to understand the pluses and minuses of both. And what I was really missing was government experience, especially for my career and what I want to do. We're always working with these government agencies, right? So 10 years ago, 2013, I got an offer to come work out of city engineering here for City of Colorado Springs. So I did that for 5 years too. So I got to know the insides, right, of how a government agency operates, and it was such a big change in my career, going from this crazy big, engineering firm to this government agency, and it really informed me on what I needed to do to be successful, to work with them going forward. And it also provided me with a great network here. As anyone knows, when you're in business, it's a lot about what kind of connections you can make. It was just this awesome experience, but I always knew I was going back to the private side. And even while I was at the City of Colorado Springs on the side, like kind of moonlighting, I had my own company where I was consulting to other agencies around the state for my bridge expertise. So I always had that in the background. I'm like, wow, I'm kind of making this work. How many more clients would I have to bring on to just do this myself? But I just didn't feel like I understood business quite enough. So I worked for a large engineering firm here for 3 more years. And then that brought us to 2019. And that's when, I convinced my 2 partners now in business, like, hey, working for this big company is great and all, but I really think we can do this ourselves and do it in a way that kind of benefits the people that are, working as part of our team better. And actually, our clients are going to have a better experience too, when we get to make the big decisions as opposed to having those decisions dictated to us.
Yeah. How's that connection been with your mother? Now, one entrepreneur to another in
Yeah.
her lineage. How's that feel?
I think she's blown away at times, right? She was always, it was just her. And which is, common for the artist. She's incredible career. She's still doing it,
Harder to scale for her, probably.
Yeah. She was always, it was always going to be about the creation she wanted to make. And you could tell she's asking me questions about business at times. And luckily they've retired. They live, in north end of Colorado Springs,
cool.
Which is awesome here, to have them out here.
So
and
we could get some of her pottery?
you can definitely get some of her pottery. Yeah, she's, that's all we have in my house. All our cups, all our plates. And
Really?
she's more of like I would say like a functional artist.
Okay.
And it's not, it's like usable stuff, right?
Nice.
So yeah. This business is a little different than what she did, but she understands it and, is proud of her boy, right? So
Has she given you any good motherly advice or anything? Because I know, because I kind of have a very simple. My mom was never an entrepreneur, but she was a high up executive. And like when I first started, she'd be like, "Oh, you need to do it this, and that way." And she comes from like a corporate background, which is true. Like there's a lot of good wisdom from that. But has your mom bestowed any wisdom to you during tough times? Because I'm sure there have been plenty of those as well.
What I think both her and my dad are good at is they can see it in my face some days when it's long days and stuff like that, and they're trying to get me to balance out life a little bit better, and having them in town is a great thing, right? To go and hang out with them for a little bit. So I appreciate that, and at the end of the day they just want happiness and a good life for my family. So it's great.
I think it's super important. I think like your journey is almost mission critical to building a really good entrepreneur, because for me, like one of the best like milestones in my life was working for a big corporate marketing agency and seeing the ins and outs of like a company that like has everything running on all cylinders, 1,000 plus employees, and like the systems in place that they deploy. And like I'll never take that experience away, because it taught me so much when I was like, all right, this is time for me to jump in, and I know what a good functional company looks like, but also know like what my take's going to be on it too, because I had a very similar instance like you. It was like work, burning the midnight oil, get there at 6:30 in the morning, work till 8 p.m. at night. You don't even see the sun type of,
Right.
where I'm sure you're familiar with that as well. And it's just something different when you start your own thing, because you're like you have those missions in place, those values in place of like, I'm going to take care of my people, I'm going to take care of my clients in a different way, because you've seen that, but you also get the value of the corporate side, right?
Right. These companies, they aren't inherently, evil or anything like that. They're just doing, the best they can for their corporation and their shareholders and things like that. And there's just things that don't need to exist for a small company. Right. And that's exactly what you're talking about is I know I can do it this way, and, it's going to be better for everyone. And, I was just having a great conversation with, obviously we left this big company, right? We had a lot of contacts and a lot of people that enjoyed working with us. And I was just talking to a person that worked with us there, and then about a year ago he hit us up and was like, "Hey, what's going on over there? Is there space? I think there'd be a good fit." And him just talking to me last night about the things we have set up and how it's working better for him, and kind of the freedom. Hey, you don't have to show up to the office every day, or just little things like
nuances
that.
Of that,
are a big deal to him, and he really appreciated, the kind of structure we put in place. And, it's just great to get good feedback from somebody you respect and enjoy working with.
Well, that just attributes to you guys. Is like you guys have been able to, one, establish validity, because no matter what, people are watching what you're doing, even if you don't think they are, right? It sounds like he's been watching, right? And it sounds like you've thrown like a vision out there big enough for him to play in as well, and he wants to like that's a big deal. Like with me with Recon, that's been something that's made me the most like proudest of what we're doing, is like former colleagues who I looked up to, like knock on our door, like how can I work for you, or how can I partner with you with certain things. It's awesome. So it sounds like your partners and you are pretty well aligned of like, you know, what the values are there, and other people are catching wind of that and want to go play in that vision.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think there's always that you start a new company, there's hesitation. Are they going to make it? Are they going to be able to make it past 1 year? Are they going to make it, you know, past 2 years? Do they have a good vision? So there's always that hesitation initially. And we were just so fortunate to have so many great people, you know, immediately that just, hey, I believe in what you guys are doing. I've worked with you the past 5 years. I know you're capable of this. And, you know, we had people jumping on with us right away. You know, it started with the three of us in October 2019, but shortly thereafter, maybe January, I would have to check the calendar, you know, but we had 20 people pretty quickly. And, you know, it was just like a snowball rolling downhill, just gathering speed, you know. And obviously at some point there's like critical mass here in the local market. How big can this local market support, you know? But we're so you know, fortunate to have all these great people work on our team. And like you said, it's kind of like a word of mouth kind of, people are watching, observing, hearing about us. And I think one of the biggest changes from us at a big company to us here is we're a lot more approachable. When you're working at the big company, there's all this pressure. Hey, we do that service in Milwaukee or wherever. You got to use them. You can't use the local partner, you know, that's at a different company, because we have to secure that profit as a large company, you know? So what we noticed right away was people were picking up the phone and calling us, you know, and just trying to figure out what we were up to and how they could work with us and bringing business to us, you know. And it's a really cool thing, you know, to start here in this local community, because the Colorado Springs market doesn't really have a whole lot of competitors for us that are just based out of Colorado Springs. And that's what kind of makes us different. Most of our competitors are national or even international companies that have a big office up in Denver, and that's their primary focus because that's where more potential clients are. But, you know, we planted our flag here in Colorado Springs because we believe this market, you know, can basically handle the same level of service that, you know, some of the places up in the Denver area are getting. And that's, you know, one of the biggest differentiators for us is there isn't like, oh, I'll go down to Colorado Springs when I have a little time. No, we're here every day. You know.
Do you think people respect that, the clients that you've been getting?
Absolutely. I think you know, so these government agencies, when I'm doing a road project or a bridge project here locally, I know that road because my friend lives on it, or I had another project that connects to it or something like that, right? There's this inherent knowledge that streamlines projects, makes it more efficient, you know, produces a better product at the end. Having the focus here locally, you know, they reap the rewards of it, you know, and you build up that relationship. You know, in our industry, it's all repeat customers, right? It's not like CDOT, you know, Colorado Department of Transportation. I can't just go over to like Oklahoma and start, you know, working with them and, you know, just drop in, oh, hey, I'm a person that does this service, you know, just hire me. No, they want to see repetitive, good service. They want to see that you have this resume here doing it, you know? So the biggest thing is our ability to deliver good projects gives us that next project. So, you know, that's why we're so invested here locally is, you know, that's important to our business model, but it's also important to us as residents of Colorado Springs that these, you know, transportation projects improve our quality of life here.
Yeah. Do you think that you expanded pretty quickly when it comes to employees? Was that because you had projects lined up, or was that, or were you expanding faster just so that when you have the projects lined up, you had the team ready?
So October 2019, we didn't have any projects.
Okay.
So the day there was no kind of backdoor deals, anything like, hey, I'm going to leave. Can you save that one for me? You can't do that in our industry.
Yeah.
This is regulated, that people would find out pretty quickly, right? So yeah, we had to compete for every project that's been given to us, and the main thing has been targeting long-term projects. Like some of the first projects we were awarded were multi-year projects, right? And people see that stability that provides, right? And that was one of the attracting things, because in our industry, most projects are a couple months, maybe approaching a year. Not every project is a long-term project, but we were able to secure multi-year projects right away, which kind of gave us legitimacy and a solid foundation and things like
confidence
that.
in, expanding that team.
Yeah. And then we were just hiring to meet the needs on those projects. And, I talk about our local community. We have a lot of project partners here locally that were really supportive of us, and they were able to we were able to reach agreements with them to help them provide services, or they're helping us to make sure we had the right amount of people until we've built out to the extent we are today.
Nice.
Yeah.
So like other companies were like, we can help you on this.
Yep. Yeah. Like I was saying, they were reaching out to us. They were excited to work with us. I mean, I guess when it really comes down to it, not many people are rooting for the large corporation, right? They're like, they're like, I'm going to root for these three guys who had the stones to go out on their own, right? And
people like supporting. When people see that, it inspires people, I think, and it people like to support that, I think, especially here in the Springs. We got a really good community here, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And we were doing all sorts of things to make sure our product was seen as valuable. That was one of the toughest things in our industry. That's so it's engineering, right? It's pretty defined, and the clients know exactly kind of what they want and how you can like qualify to provide those services. So yeah, that was one of the things going out is, okay, I've been providing these services to this client, me personally, when I worked for a larger company for so many years, but they need to know that we're set up to still provide that same level of service. So that was the stuff we were working on so hard those first couple months, is to establish, we've still got the same capabilities. Sure, we don't have this huge corporation behind us with thousands of employees, but for this project here on this road, you're going to get that same level of service you're used to. And then once you do it once, twice.
Well, how did you build that trust with them? Having obviously you've had background, you have experience. So what were you doing to build that trust? Yeah,
there's a few different strategies. The first one was, we talked about those project partners, right? So sometimes one of our project partners, like a different company, would prime the project and we would sub, and then that project would get added to our resume as a company, right? So instead of, we were used to leading every project. We're like, okay, if you're not ready to hire our company, we'll team up with this other company and deliver this project, and you can see that we're still capable. So that was one of the things we did. And the other thing that a lot of agencies do, it's called on-call contracts, right? Where they just request basically your resumes and your history as a company, and we were good enough to qualify for these on-call contracts so that you could get little projects, just pieced out from them, basically. A lot of the bigger projects are actually like project-specific pursuits where they would just advertise a project, whereas these on-call contracts just establish you can provide that service, whether it's bridge engineering, roadway engineering, construction inspection, things like that.
Those are the short-term ones though, right?
Yeah, usually. Yep. So we started showing we could do these little projects.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh yeah, these guys, they're still good at what they do. They didn't lose it overnight.
That's crazy. One thing that stands out with when we were doing some research on you was what we called it at the agency I worked at before, which I love this term. It was like part of our overall like core values, was called execution excellence. And it had everything to do with like training every employee top to bottom, CEO, everybody with the same set of responsibilities. No toilet paper roll is ever empty or ever without toilet paper in it for too long. CEO, whoever it is, like you have to change it. Or if someone's gone who's next to you and their phone's ringing, you answer it for them. And I love that because it was like it was a beautiful thing to adopt, you know. And I know, like reading up about you, that's something that you can see you doing everything from like getting your feet and hands dirty, doing like big, you know, dirty projects to you know, doing multi-year contracts. So talk a little bit more about that and why that's built into your whole value statement for your business.
Right. Yeah. So I appreciate what you're talking about with your experience, right? Is kind of getting everybody to think as an owner, right? When people are thinking as an owner, they aren't going to show up with their truck dirty and full of trash, right? They're going to think of as an owner like, oh, what am I projecting for my company? I'm going to show up with my truck clean. You know, I'm not going to be embarrassed if the client wants to jump in my car to see more of this project or, you know, whatever that might be. And that's really important to small businesses, having everybody have that kind of full 360 view. I'm not just here to plug in to my desk today and just do this task that I'm assigned. I'm here to learn. I'm here to help others and do my task, right? So that's definitely what we're looking for on our team. And, you know, when you talk about me, my view of ownership is probably a little bit different than my two partners even, right? I'm the type of owner that wants to work alongside our team. I want them to see I'll literally do any job at our company. I'll crawl in through a 48-inch pipe for thousands of feet, you know, because that's part of our job. That's what we do, right? And I don't mind doing it because it's a little different. I love variety. It's a little different than what I'm going to do tomorrow. And you know, I think it's important that people understand it's like every little piece you're building is part of this great product that gets us hired and repeat business and makes it a good place to work.
That's awesome. Yeah, sometimes I call myself the coffee go for a lot of my business because I'm, you know, it's important for people to see you in the trenches. There's just something about it when they see their leader physically doing things that they're like, man, there's no excuse for me not to do it. If I see, you know, our founder, our co-founder doing this type of work, you know, it's just it's inspiring.
So I catch some I don't know, verbal stuff sometimes because I'm always the one taking out the trash, right? I don't mind it, you know. I do it at home. It's the office. It's when you're an owner, it's what's the difference, right? And then there's this crazy structure under at South Academy, kind of near Proby. It's called an inverted siphon, and it's I want to say like 400 feet long. And my buddy and I do this inspection every 4 years, and his name's Alan, and somehow I keep roping him back into it. And what it is it's about 5 feet tall and about 7 feet wide, and it goes under Academy, and it carries this irrigation ditch. Well, over time, sediment settles out. So while it's 5 feet tall, there's about 2 feet of muck in the bottom for 300 feet, and it's like 5 feet tall, right? So you're kind of hunched over, 2 feet of muck, kind of crawling through it. But that's part of the job of inspecting this infrastructure is I need to get hands on, you know, eyes on this thing to make sure it's still in good condition and functioning properly. And it's just, you know, we wear like Tyvek suits, we're covered in mud, and it's, you know, it's a nasty little smelly thing, but
at least it's not sewage.
Yeah, at least we don't do that. Yeah, I'll stay away from that. But yeah, it's, you know, I still do that, and it's, you know, it's all part of the job. So
nice. They're doing a lot of work on Academy right now.
They are. Yeah,
that's until like 25.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not one of our projects, but yeah, that's the type of project that, you know, we talk about local transportation. There's this PPRTA, Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority, that funds a lot of our local projects that just got renewed. This was a huge deal for our industry. So any large project you see around that's doing like a new bridge or new roadway, like to that scale, you're talking about a couple miles long. get funded through this PPRTA, is like a sales tax funding source that just injects all this money into our local infrastructure. That's really, really important. You know, when I got here back in 2013, the buzzword was deferred maintenance, which basically meant they weren't keeping up with the roads or bridges or anything like that because they didn't have any money. This RTA funding source didn't exist until I want to say about 2005 was probably the first year. And so this new funding source was created, and that's one of the kind of vehicles being used to build new, larger roads or replace bridges and things like that around here. So we do a lot of work with that.
Nice. Is there any specific bridge in town that you can name that we might drive on that you've done?
Oh yeah, I mean, so that's what I was kind of hired to do out here. Was I was hired by the city to maintain their bridge program, right?
Okay.
So
all the bridges.
All the bridges. So this is going to blow your mind. So Colorado Springs actually almost has 500 bridges.
Oh, yeah.
You think about like all these small drainages, some of the interchanges, and I'm not talking about, so CDOT, this is one of the biggest misconceptions or something that people don't understand is, so CDOT owns I-25, right? CDOT owns 24. The city of Colorado Springs owns the local streets, right?
Oh, okay.
So if you go within the city boundary, all those roads, there's about half of those bridges fit in this major category that are over 20 feet long. So it's about 230-ish bridges right now. And then they also have 230 bridges that are like 4 feet to 20 feet, which is this minor category. So the major category allows you to get like federal dollars and you know, more funding opportunities, but they're all structures to me. So yeah, I'm trying to think of one of the most exciting projects we got coming up is replacing the Circle Drive bridges near Coles, kind of down south end of town. These bridges, honestly, I've been working on them since I came to town. They've been, you know, something to behold. So they've needed their fair share of care and maintenance, and it's really exciting. It's that PPRTA funding source we were talking about. Nice. You know, has the amount of funds to replace the bridges, and these things are massive. It's actually 4 separate bridges, and I think right now it's either 10 or 12 spans right now. So yeah, it's quite the project.
That's insane. I was in you probably already know about this, but I was in San Antonio. My dad lives in San Antonio, and like the overpasses there can be like 7, 8 like stories of different types of interchanges. And it's insane when you're going through it. You're like, wow, there's like 8 floors of bridges going underneath and above me. Have you ever worked on anything like that before? Yeah,
we've done some big projects. The interesting thing I did kind of back in my younger days was, so I was part of a nationwide bridge inspection team that did rope access bridge inspection. So we used to rappel off tall bridges because that was the easiest way to get to the areas you needed to get to. So I did some amazing cable stay bridges, which are kind of, some people call them like HARP bridges.
Like the San Francisco one?
Yeah, it's kind of similar to some of the bridges they have out there. Not so much suspension style, but cable stays just have like basically a big pylon, and the cables are coming down off of there. Yeah, so we were rappelling off bridges. So I was kind of jumping off. I think the top of the bridge was about 300 feet off the water, you know, which this was long before I had a wife and kids. And some people love that stuff, and that's all they want to do. And I respect that. I'm glad people want to do that, but I kind of had my fill over like 5 years, and you know, early 2010s kind of time. And luckily, you know, Colorado doesn't have too many bridges that require that sort of inspection, but there's a lot of, you know, great people in this state that do that work.
Yeah, most definitely. So let's talk a little bit again about Basis Partners. Like what's next for you guys? You guys are just hitting your 3.5 year milestone. What's the next year? What's the next couple of years look like for you guys?
Yeah, we're never going to get away from our focus, which is the local market first. When you talk about being satisfied about your job, there's a different level of satisfaction for an engineer to drive down that street you just improved versus we could get hired to do something out of state, at some town we never visited, because you can do so much remotely these days, but I really, that's one of the biggest satisfying things to me about this job is actually fixing that road that I use, and I see that improvement. And I think that'll always be our focus, but we talk about, there's different disciplines in engineering. Right now, we're actually expanding our abilities in like waterway design and drainage and things like that. So our 3 service lines that we always had were construction management, roadway design, and bridge inspection. And there's all these kind of related fields. We don't do too much structural design right now because I'm the only structural PE, and I'm kind of swamped doing everything else that I'm doing, right? Mm-hmm. So we could talk about, getting into those other disciplines, but what it is all about is finding that right person, right? And the engineering community is so busy right now. There's more work than there are engineering firms to do it.
This seems to be a theme with every industry.
It is. And I had a great conversation with somebody recently up in Denver about, what we really need is younger people to keep getting into the engineering field. There's a lack of people, going and getting this degree and this experience to do this career right now. And, I know everybody gets excited about, flying cars and maybe we won't need roads someday. I was like, that isn't coming anytime soon. We need good engineers that are going to keep up with our infrastructure. And, it's like I said, it's been a great career for me. And, who I was actually talking about, it just came back to me, is CSU Pueblo. So we work with them a lot. They have a great engineering school down there, even focused on construction, nice. Which is, we've hired a few people from CSU Pueblo, even interns that worked into full-time employees. And it's just so awesome to have a local source of talent like that. It's a big deal to the industry. And, those people are doing a great job down there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
For those I don't want to say disgruntled, but those engineers who are at a big engineering firm right now who are thinking about making that leap into entrepreneurship, maybe starting their own, could even be a boutique, civil engineering firm. What advice would you give them?
I think the number one thing is knowing your market. People might be your friend. People might work on projects with you, but the question you got to ask yourself is, will they hire you? And that's always the shocking thing to people. And you even see it when somebody usually at an engineering firm, you might be hired to do the technical work. You might be hired to go win the work, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes people are hired to win the work, and at times they get that realization that, that relationship I thought I had wasn't really, going to be able to produce work.
What do you mean win the work?
So when we say win the work, when we were talking about project-specific pursuits earlier, so a lot of times an agency will advertise a project, be like, hey, I need an engineer to design this stretch of roadway.
Oh, so you got to do work and you might not even get the job.
Yep. So basically what that's called is an RFP, a request for proposals. Mm-hmm. So somebody who you met from our team, we have a marketing person, Bailey, who's amazing, incredible at her job. So she helps us keep track of all these RFPs coming out. Hey, is this something we want to chase? Mm-hmm. And most times if it's something we want to chase, we've known about it years in advance because we keep up with our network and stay in front of our clients and everything like that. So we literally put together, some are changing to electronic. Back in the day, it was always like a hardbound copy of, hey, this is how we're going to approach the work. This is who's going to work on it. And
is that those scenes in the movies where they're in the meeting and they're like, there's a structure there? What I'm talking about?
Yeah. The big companies, it is. It's like, this is a 3D rendering of what we're going to do for this.
Sticks. No.
Yeah. Maybe that's more our style. It's a smaller company. That's that's the hardest thing. And that's why people who can win work are the most desirable people, because being able to supply your team with backlog that allow them to be billable, right, at charge hours to those projects, that's the business, and that's the hardest thing, is building that backlog and making sure you're maintaining your reputation by delivering on your projects, right? A lot of people can kind of get over their skis on like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. And then you don't deliver on any of your projects, and then you lose your reputation at these clients. And it's one of those things where you take like, oh, I've been crushing it for 2 years. You do this one little thing wrong. And that can really tarnish your reputation, and that's where the stress comes from, right? And the pressure, and that's something we're really proud about, is our ability to understand and manage our workload and make sure we don't get in that situation where we're over promising and under delivering, and we want it to be the opposite, right?
And it really probably is more vital for you in your industry, because like you said, you have just a handful of clients, and there's only probably a handful here, so I mean, obviously you could go to other places, but once you ruin that, you ruin a lot. Like, I think it's good for any industry to not ruin your reputation no matter what, but it's even more vital to you, I think, because of the lack of clients, probably, right?
Yeah, and it would take years to go somewhere else and start. You can walk in and win the lottery, and you've met the perfect person in this perfect day, and here's a huge contract, and that's awesome, right? That's like winning the lottery chances, right? Usually it's like I said, you kind of need to establish that you exist, establish that you can do the services, and maybe something, you're like planting the seed, right? It's like, okay, maybe in a couple of years this will be something.
For sure. I've noticed that with me. My first year, I was planting a lot of seeds, and I still have things that are like fruits that are blooming from those seeds that I planted a few years ago, still to this day, that I would never have expected. Like, I was like, oh, that person, may have forgot about me. The next thing I know, they're hitting me up, so it's pretty cool.
It's funny how that works, right? And usually it's that day where you're like, what am I doing? Did I do the right thing here? Why did I waste my time doing that? And then like planting seeds, right? Everyone you plant isn't going to sprout.
Yeah.
So there is that balance of how much work do I need, how much business development do I need to be doing, and figuring that out. It's always something you're working on.
That is the struggle of the entrepreneur, the business owner, and that's our target audience. So we really want to. I mean, obviously we can target anyone can watch the show and enjoy it, but a lot of the material we talk about is the struggles and the successes that business owners go through. And thank you for sharing today. This has been awesome.
Yeah, I was trying to think, we were talking a little bit about what we were exchanging kind of before we met today. And, I think the one thing that was interesting is you guys sent me a question about like the challenge. What is the challenge of business, or the challenge we've experienced since we started our business? And, we started in October 2019, right? We did all, as much preparation as you can do. And then there's COVID, right? So it's just changing everything, changing all the rules to how to do HR, how to work on your job site, and we were really fortunate that our industry was considered essential, at that time, and most of our projects kind of kept going. But I actually don't think that was the biggest challenge. I think the biggest challenge for a business is attracting and retaining key talent. So we're like, we're a people business. We need to relate to the people that work for our clients. We need to relate to our project stakeholders, because we're improving the street and there's 20 houses. So we need to relate to these 20 different people or 20 different families, and most importantly, we need to relate to our team, and they need to understand what we're trying to do, and we need to be able to attract people and convince them, hey, this is a great place to work. Trust me on it, right? I swear. So I think that's the thing we're working on every day, and that's probably the biggest challenge for us, is, and I think because we spend so much time on it, that's why we've been successful at doing it.
Would you also say it's the best thing you could be doing?
Sure. I mean, that's the thing that kind of gives me the feeling that we're being successful, right? Is getting feedback, whether it's internally from our team or externally from people that are working with us, whether it's a client or the homeowners are actually the hardest ones to convince we did a good job, right? Because we built this new street and it changed this and this, and why did we do this, and how is it better, and all those tough questions. And you know, a lot of it's just being able, or going back to like relating to people, understanding what their issues were, and them being able to communicate, you know, why this is improving it. And
yeah,
you know, working with people, it's always something.
Yeah. You work with lots of them.
Yeah.
So there's this theory I've had about the roads here, and I don't know if it's just my bias, me moving here and noticing roads more because I'm coming from somewhere else and I probably got used to my home roads. Is the environment, particularly here in Colorado, is it more prone to breaking up more easy compared to, like, I don't know, a different place?
Absolutely.
I was thinking so, because I'm like, this. It seems like there's always new potholes popping up. Is that the environment?
So yeah. So basically, one of the worst things that can happen to the road is these freeze thaw cycles.
That's what I thought was the cause of it, actually.
Yeah. So here in Colorado, everybody laughs about the Colorado weather, right? And earlier this week, we were all in t-shirts. Today, we're wearing our winter coats, right? And we can,
like heating up a pan and sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. We get that. We can have multiple cycles in a day, it feels like sometimes. So basically what happens is moisture's getting into those cracks in the roadway. When it freezes, it expands, popping it out, right? And then it happens again and again and again. And, you know, you go from a tiny crack in the road to something much more substantial.
That was my theory, so I'm glad I was right on that.
Yeah. It's brutal on everything. Anything you're driving on, right? Right. We try concrete, we do asphalt, you know, the hardest thing is maintaining that nice road you've built. And hopefully if you've met all the kind of engineering specifications, you're doing the best you can to put a product together that's going to last as long as possible. But it reminds me, so when I just moved here, the roads were brutal, right? They didn't have enough money to keep up with them. So we talked about the RTA funding source. There's also this 2C funding source, very similar, based on sales tax. They're both kind of pretty cool because we're such a town that's based on tourism, right? We have a lot of attractions. So a lot of these sales tax funded projects are actually funded by tourists, not the local residents, you know, to a certain extent. So that's an awesome thing that we have here that maybe some other towns can't really do, because who's going to that town? You know, they don't have these beautiful things we have in Colorado Springs. So this 2C funding source is focused solely on improving our roads. And it's been around for about 7 years now. And the awesome thing is it spends all the funding every year improving the road. So like I can drive pretty much from my house, you know, down on the south end of town to the north end of town on only 2C streets now, which is making a big difference. It's just such a humongous undertaking. You know, we have over 6,000 miles of roads around here. That funding source, even though it's a substantial funding source, it can only take on about a couple % of the roads every year, right? Like 1, 2, 3%.
And then once you finish one, there's another one that's breaking.
Yeah. And then roads typically only have like a 20 to 30 year service life. So if you're only doing 1% a year, you can see the math I'm drawing out. You don't quite make it, right? So that's every government agency is up against that, right? Whether it's bridges or roads, we have all of this infrastructure. How do we focus on our funding on the most important project? Well, are you doing it by worst condition? Or are you doing it by most cars that go over it every day? Because these two things can be different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, some people probably get neglected that live on off roads.
Absolutely.
That's very true. I know that for a fact.
it's I don't envy the people that have to make that decision. That's like, absolutely, we're doing Main Street, not East Avenue, right? Because Main Street needs it worse. There's really no winners in that. We just know all the roads need to get that attention eventually. Right?
Yeah. Some people might take initiative and fill potholes themselves. I think that's a thing.
Yeah, you can go get cold mix at Home Depot, right?
Yeah.
But it's not advisable. I'm sure
I
the
don't even
city,
know if that's legal. Is it?
I don't think, because the city owns it. You're probably not gonna want to touch that. So I know they have City works hard on their app. They have like this GoCo Springs app. I hope that's the current one. And you can take pictures and send it into them, and they're pretty responsive. They're pretty proud of it. But what's awesome about that 2C project, I was just at like the quarterly meeting, is one of the projects we work on. From the time that project started about 7 years ago to today, their claims and the reports of road damage around the city has dropped by almost 100%. It might be more than that, so it's making a difference, but it takes time. Like we said, 7 years in, they're probably only 20 to 30% through the roads, so there's a lot left to it.
That's crazy. Well, this has been such an awesome interview, man. This is giving us so much insight, especially because Andrew's been here for about 3 or 4 years now, and learning a little bit more about the roads, the history of it, your guys' experience. Where can we find you guys? And it looks like also you have a new website or something, because it looks really nice, by the way.
Yeah. All the platitudes go to Bailey. She is incredible at her job, leading our marketing. She just started or redid our website. So it's basisp.com. So basisp.com. And yeah, the website is a funny thing for our industry, right? Our government agencies aren't hiring us due to our website, but people like yourselves, people that want to work for us, they're always checking that out, and we get a lot of traffic, and we're really, really proud of what Bailey's done with the website.
Nice.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a great episode. We'll see you guys on the next one.
If you are still watching this and you're not subscribed or have gotten this far and have not hit the like button, what are you doing?